Hi everyone. This is Aloni's Note to Self, and today's Note to Self is how life has changed after the pandemic. I'm your host today. My name is Caitlin Bowie. My major is communication, and I'm with the rest of our student wellness ambassadors.
Hi everyone, my name is Donna Beltran and I'm a psychology major.
Hi, my name is Clara Katzman and I am a business administration major.
Hi, my name is Pooh and I am environmental engineering major.
Thank you, everyone. And we're going to start off with a little anecdote. During quarantine, it was definitely a time where there was a lot of change. And I have a really interesting story about how during Zoom school, I was not paying attention to my teacher. And me and my friends were playing Minecraft in a math class when we probably should have been paying attention. But all I remember from that math class, instead of algebra, is like Minecraft sheep like blaring in my ear, and that is a vivid memory of quarantine, and that hasn't left my brain. So does anybody else have like a weird anecdote during quarantine?
Not a weird anecdote, but I've actually never played Minecraft.
You should play.
I don't think I would like it.
During quarantine, I just remember being in my room 24/7 and only coming out to like eat and go to the bathroom. I spent a lot of time in my room analyzing, watching shows, having a
what?
good time. Analyzing what? Good question, Donna. I was analyzing everything from the meaning of life to why this pandemic existed in the first place.
How often do you think about the Roman Empire?
Honestly,
Never.
thank you for asking me that.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for somebody to ask me that.
Of course.
I think about the Roman Empire literally never in my life. Like, not once. I just
Literally
wanna
once in
know if,
fourth
like-
grade.
Yeah, like when we were
learned
learning about
it.
it.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's true that male individuals actually always think about the Roman
I think
Empire.
it's false.
You think it's false?
Yeah.
Anyways, who? What was the question?
Anecdote?
Yes,
Yeah, funny
something that
anecdote.
you did during the
I don't know,
pandemic.
during the quarantine, I was like watching the K-dramas like 24/7, and that was the time that I first got my glasses.
I remember the first time I got my glasses. I would wear fake ones, and I think I like manifested it. Because now I actually need them for real.
That's okay. Thank you. Glasses are cute. It's okay. But with the mention of shows that you guys watch, are there any shows that you guys binge watch over quarantine? I'm like Pooh. I watched a lot of K-dramas. Crash Landing on You took my heart over quarantine. It was so good. I still think about that every day. I think that's my Roman Empire, honestly. But I also watched Avatar in like I think like a week. It was pretty fast. But yeah, you guys?
I watched a lot of reality TV because I just love the drama. I would get into the drama even though it wasn't me. But I tried to get into Grey's Anatomy. I couldn't do it. I got into season 3, then I dropped it. But yeah.
Aren't there like 13 seasons?
No, there's 19.
I watched
Going on
19
20.
seasons then during the pandemic. Yeah, it was crazy. And then I saw Lucifer. If any of y'all have heard of that show,
Yeah, I heard of it.
it's so good. I'm watching the last 2 seasons right now. Oh my gosh.
I couldn't get into it.
Really?
He was too... I
He
don't
was
know,
too
pop
devil.
culture.
It's almost like he is the devil.
Too devil.
What about you, Pooh? Besides the K-dramas, of course.
I think that's it. Like, yeah, and also like I watch the reality shows, and that's also like Korean reality shows, Running Man.
Yeah. I feel like during the pandemic, we were really pushed into this online realm, and that has given us a lot of cultural changes. Do you guys have any things that come to mind when we talk about cultural changes with the pandemic?
I like to say personal space. I didn't realize how close we actually were. Like going to restaurants now that like all the mandates are like mostly gone. the tables in restaurants are like this close to each other. I can feel like I could touch elbows with like a complete stranger, and I just don't like that.
Yeah.
So I need my personal space.
So true. I feel like another big thing is virtual presence. Like before the pandemic, there weren't really any virtual event options or class options. And I think that's kind of like the silver lining with the pandemic is now being present at an event is much more flexible. So you don't actually have to be in person. Yeah, I like that change.
Me too.
And I also have like the same idea with Clara, and we changed from in-person events to virtual events, and also like classroom change to the virtual classroom as well. So I think during the pandemic, I tried a lot of virtual events, and that was a good opportunity during the quarantine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty active in a club during quarantine, and it was insane to go from all in-person events to all virtual events, and we became pretty creative with it. There was a lot of websites that would allow us to kind of be a virtual reality of ourselves and kind of spend time together in a lot of these club events. And also Zoom is so amazing, and I totally agree with Clara that like the adapting to being online kind of has been a realm that is really good in my opinion, because just for an example, at Aloni now we have a lot of asynchronous classes, and personally I really enjoy it. Some people say they don't love it as much, but I think it's just gives you so much flexibility as a student, especially if you are a working student or you just are constantly busy. It allows you to take a lot more classes without the stress of having to be in person in a class fully. And I just know some people just also don't live near here, but Aloni has a lot of accommodations that are very good, and so asynchronous classes are really amazing for a lot of people, and I thought that was a really good change. Another thing that I kind of want to talk about is, isn't it crazy that over quarantine, we basically did not see anyone except our family? Like, I went over maybe almost 2 years without seeing my best friends, and that is absolutely insane to me because it didn't feel like that. With like technology, it really did not feel like that. I feel if the pandemic happened in a decade or time where we did not have technology, it would have been even a worse situation for a lot of people with mental health and how hard it is to be isolated. Yeah. Does anyone have anything to add on to that?
No, absolutely. Well said. I feel like, I don't know if this is just me or if y'all can relate, but I feel like I completely forgot how to socialize with people. Like, for almost 2 years, I was doing virtual classes and just everything online. And I was like, how do I make friends on campus? How do I even speak to human beings? Not even on campus, just like at the grocery store. So it was kind of a learning curve, like getting back into normalcy of communicating. But yeah, didn't expect that. Like, none of us could have prepared for a pandemic, so just being shut off from society was a shift for sure.
Yeah, does anybody else have anything to add on to that?
So when I was in quarantine, I live with a single mom, so it's just my mom and me. And when she would go off to work, I was alone basically. So what I would do is I would talk basically to the air. I talk to myself, which sounds a little crazy, but I swear it's not crazy. And I would just create my own little characters and talk to people. I've been doing it since I was little. It's kind of like a coping mechanism. And going off of what you said about like communicating with people, I think we just kind of just went back to the basics of being overly nice and not really knowing how to connect. Yeah. That's what I think.
That's really interesting. I never thought about it that way.
For me, like during the quarantine, I was in my country, not here in the United States. I actually live with my family, so before the quarantine, everybody was busy, like except me. Like, however, like during the quarantine, we meet each other like every time, and we fight. We have a lot of issues.
Yeah.
And that was fun, and at the same time it was no fun at all. However, like for the friends, before the COVID, like we meet each other like once per month, like each other we hang out together. However, during the quarantine, like we cannot hang out, so we just connect from social media. So even though we are chatting like every day on social media, I don't feel that much close to each other. And but one thing good is that during the quarantine we had a lot of virtual friends, and technology changes made increase the virtual friends. So I think the quarantine have both good and bad things.
What I will add is it's kind of crazy how quickly we all adapted to it. Especially companies, I guess, is like the economy. But
Yeah.
Zoom like came out of nowhere. Zoom just like popped up.
Yes.
And then there was this other app where you could watch movies with your friends. Like it was like
Netflix party?
Yeah, something like that. And even though we all were not connected, we still were connected. And then like apps like TikTok blew up, and it didn't really feel like you were alone. It just kind of felt like the world was moving on without you. That's what I felt.
That's really interesting. But yeah, on that note, that like there was so many new technology that allowed you to connect with your friends. For me, I really think that has helped me being in community college, and a lot of my friends have gone to like a university that's not near me, so we don't get to see each other physically a lot. But I think this new technology and how we learned how to talk through technology has really helped me, because I don't feel as if they're so far away, because we use technology to talk every single day. And I think that is a plus that has happened because of COVID. Do you guys have anything to say about that?
Social media, I'm addicted to it.
Yeah.
Me too, though.
Tell us more about that.
Like my screen time during quarantine was probably like 15 hours a day. Don't shame me.
No shade.
No shade.
That's real.
My
Mine was probably
hours
like
are
that
more
too.
than 15.
24 hours. Always plugged in.
24-hour challenge screen time. No, that's hilarious. But going back to how Pooh said that she got into a lot of fights with her family during the
Yeah.
pandemic, I feel as if that is so relatable. When I was in quarantine, my older sister and my brother-in-law actually moved back into the house with me and my parents, and they were out of the house for like a couple years, so it was a hard like adaptation for them specifically, because it was like you had your own freedom and now you went back to living with your parents. It was very temporary, but that did add a lot of fuel to the fire, and I feel like isolation just kind of makes you feel stuck. Like even going to the supermarket was like a privilege. It was like a once a week, oh my god, I get to go to Target, guys. I get to go to Target. I get to wait outside of Target because they only have like a 20 people capacity.
I forgot about the
Yes.
lines.
I didn't go outside at all.
I would only go once a week to Target to buy groceries, and I'd be like, oh my god, so fun. I get to sit outside this line for like 20 minutes. That is
That's
insane
sad.
to me.
So
I know, but I thought that was so fun because I'm like, oh my god, I get to leave. But yeah, a lot of fights occurred in the family, and I think I feel like not a lot of people talk about that with COVID, because yeah, it's like during normal life and life before COVID, I feel honestly, at least for my family, there was not a lot of hours of interaction between each other. Everyone had a job, everyone had their own lives, and we would see each other in passing or just at night during like dinner time, let's say. But now we were spending time fully with each other. Everyone had their own job, school, and everybody stepping on each other's toes. So there was a lot of arguments, or not really arguments, but definitely disagreements
Totally.
and entanglements. Just kidding. But yeah, did anyone else have like an experience like that?
Yeah, so my parents are separated, and they have been since I've been about 8 years old. So I've been pretty used to going back and forth. in between the houses. But during the pandemic, I spent probably 90% of it at my mom's house. So I had that struggle of like, I can't see that half of my family because I had anxiety that like I was gonna get my mom sick, who is immunocompromised, and she works around a lot of elderly people. So I had that anxiety, and I just didn't like feel comfortable going to my dad's house. And it definitely affected my relationship with my dad's family because we didn't see each other for like almost a year, which was crazy. Yeah, and I like looking back on it, like I'm happy that I protected my mom's family, and I don't think that it ended up being a full year, but I do wish that there was just more information about COVID and how you can transmit it and just more like general information, because I remember this was at the very beginning of the pandemic and I had no idea like what was going on. So it was just like an uncertain time, and it for sure like created divides in between my family, not just with me, but I think my two brothers were also staying at my mom's house with me. So it's crazy.
Right. I like completely remember that the CDC was like pushing out information just as they found it out because COVID was so new. And sometimes I forget the anxiety that I had at the beginning of COVID, because now as the pandemic is becoming an end, like closer to an end than the beginning, we have a lot of information. A lot of people still have anxiety about it, but overall we know that we know the symptoms, we know the cures, and we know what to do once you get COVID. But that was not what we knew at the beginning. And I remember like searching up YouTube videos of like people who had COVID, and they were like vlogging themselves being in pain. And I was so terrified because at that time it was like the news was saying so many people were dying because of it. And I just remember being really scared at the beginning of COVID. And honestly, now there is still a lot of anxiety about it. I feel in my whole life, I was never really scared of being sick. Like, you know, there was the flu season and all of those things, but if you just get the flu, you just stay home. I wasn't scared, you know, but now there's a lot of anxiety with getting sick, getting people you know and love sick, and also, and just that anxiety, I think is really new, because I definitely did not feel anxiety about getting sick before COVID.
I think the most scariest part was that you didn't know what came after it. Like, you got it, but then what were the after effects of getting it? I remember a lot of people saying that it might be heart issues or like lung issues or something. And I think that was the most scary part, because you get it and then you recover, but what's going to happen in the future because you got it?
True. Just a general like confusing disease to have, or like a confusing sickness to have, because you could be asymptomatic, but I've also heard stories about people having to get limbs amputated because of infection.
I didn't know that.
I know, it's really crazy. Or like being put on incubators. So it's very scary, and I definitely understand why I had anxiety and why most of us had a lot of anxiety about it. It is good that there's more information now, and we had the vaccines and Paxlovid, if you guys have heard of.
No.
When it's one of the COVID antidotes.
What is that?
So
It's like a pill, I believe.
yeah, it's like a pill, exactly, and you can get it through your health insurance, and it supposedly
Health insurance is hard, okay? It's hard to get it.
Maybe a podcast coming up later.
On health insurance,
On health
and how
insurance.
to apply for health insurance.
It's hard, and it's
qualified.
expensive. It makes me mad, honestly.
no,
It should be free.
Agreed, yeah, like Paxlovid, but then again, like some people that took Paxlovid got super sick from it, like my grandma. But anyways, any other thoughts?
Go ahead.
To me, it was crazy how connected COVID was to like politics. Because I forgot that guy's name, Dr. Fauci.
Fauci,
Yeah,
yeah.
Fauci,
Yes,
that's his name.
Fuji.
He would be talking in like the Congress government room or whatever. I don't know. And then you would hear like the next day how Republicans were like telling him that he was lying, even though he's been doing this for ages. So I thought that was crazy because you would think science and politics were two different things and not connected, but everything's connected.
Yeah, like tell me that y'all have not seen the videos of people in supermarkets that are like mask free, and this is like when there was a mask mandate, and they would be yelling like, "You can't take my freedoms away from me." Like it was crazy.
Like, this is America.
Yeah, like yes, it's America,
wild.
and there's a pandemic. Like
Or like the toilet paper, like it was gone in like a week.
Stop.
Like you ain't need
Oh
that
my
much toilet paper.
gosh. I mean,
I remember going to Costco and people only let you take a 2-pack, but that
Oh my
2-pack is like humongous.
Yeah.
And everybody was leaving with the 2-pack.
oh my
Acting like they got diarrhea.
well, that's actually one of the symptoms of COVID.
It is. It is. Girl, I
See?
died.
Wait,
I was wrong.
let's ask the question of, did you guys actually ever get COVID?
No. To this day, I haven't.
3 times.
Oh, she's a vet.
I think 2 times, 2 or 3 times, 2 times in Bummer and 1 time in US.
I got COVID for the first time like a month ago. And I was
No
on
way.
like, it was like right the week after our training.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you're immune right now.
Right. So I'm
Yeah.
okay, guys. I'm just kidding. But I was like so proud that I never got COVID, and then it happened to me. It was because of the new
crazy.
strain.
I'm still surviving. I
By the
haven't
way,
gotten
guys,
it.
there's a new strain, and it's so contagious.
Really?
What's
What is it called?
Let's actually search it up.
There's like
Now that
20
we're
million
here.
strains, I swear.
I know.
My favorite name was the Omicron. Because I
That was
thought it
pretty
just
fun.
like, it just rolled off the
Miss
tongue.
Omicron.
It is called Eris.
Ooh.
ERIS. It's a new strain of COVID, and it is so. I'm pretty sure I got it because it was so contagious. My whole extended family got it. I got it. Like everyone that we saw that day, everyone got it. Like even for just an hour, and I wasn't even sitting next to them. Everyone got it. Yeah, that one's crazy. So be safe out there, guys. Don't feel shame to wear a mask. By the way, so after that COVID scare, I've been wearing a mask again, and the comments I get while I wear a mask is quite, it's not strange. They do not mean any harm by this, but they're asking, I've got a question like, hey, you're wearing a mask. Are you sick? And I'm just like, no. I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
They did not mean any harm, and I'm not bashing them, but it's just like, wow, COVID's not that far away. The mask mandate hasn't even been lifted for over a year yet, so
It's been like 3 months, I think.
I know, and I'm like, wow.
And also, it's just like human courtesy. I know in Japan, people wear masks when they have the flu or when they have
Yeah.
a cough.
Yeah, overall, in a lot of Asian cultures, they just wear a mask because it's in their culture, so yeah, very interesting. Mask culture still has not changed. People are still a little judgy with mask wearers.
For real.
I'm kidding.
The only thing I don't get is when people wear masks in their cars. I don't get that one.
Yeah, maybe they just forgot.
I'm glad you
How do you
brought
forget?
that
They
up.
have like a cloth in their face.
I do have an anecdote about that. A teacher that I know said she used to kind of make fun of people who wore masks in their car, but she had to do that because she had COVID, but her daughters didn't. And so she was dropping her daughters off at school and wearing a mask. And she was like, so now she understands.
I see.
So yeah, maybe it's that situation where you just have to drop somebody off. If you're alone, I'm just gonna assume you forgot.
I don't know how you can forget. Sometimes they're itchy.
Yeah.
True. Maybe they have a very thin mask and they can breathe. It's very breathable.
Yeah.
Don't want to give your car coronavirus.
I know.
Like,
That's true. Maybe they have to give the car to somebody else, like right
True.
after.
Oh, okay. I
So-
so, meant like the car was
Yeah,
alive or
no.
something.
I'm so happy we had this discussion.
I know.
Just solving the question.
Us analyzing. This is
Right.
our new Roman Empire. I love
COVID
it.
is a Roman.
Analysis Empire.
No, people wearing masks in cars.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Okay. So
Was there anything you guys got obsessed after? Like I still carry hand sanitizer because I just feel like I need it.
yes, I completely agree. I definitely did not have hand sanitizers in the car. I did not have wet wipes ever. I probably, oh my god, I'm gonna bash myself. I probably sometimes even forgot to wash my hands after I come home, like
Girl.
before COVID, because I was a child.
What do you mean? What do you mean you were a child?
Like, I was 15 when COVID started. That's
Oh,
pretty
okay.
child
Okay, I'll let it
Oh
pass.
my
behavior.
gosh.
I'll let it pretty child behavior, and I feel that's definitely a culture change because I think overall most people have gotten cleaner.
Let's hope.
Yes, let's hope.
Agreed. Like, there's hand sanitizer, at least 2 to 3 bottles in every room on campus,
As there should
and
be.
masks. Yeah, but that's true, like, as there should be, but it wasn't something that we previously thought was necessary. So there was always that, like, hand sanitizer dispenser at the end of the hall that was never full.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, I
always
hated
empty.
that. I was always
Yeah.
obsessed with hand sanitizer before COVID because my mom is like a
Really?
clean freak. And I would put my hand under like the automatic ones, and there'd never be one.
Right.
And also, I hate the sticky ones. I hate the ones that clump up. I also hate the spray ones for some reason.
Those
They're-
little, like, Sephora ones.
yeah,
the Touchland.
over expensive. They like
so
last
expensive.
3 days. It's like, girl, come on.
Girl.
Well, you got any thoughts on hand sanitizer? You like it?
Pooh, I do have a question for you. Since you experienced COVID in 2 different countries, what would you say was the differences between how your last country handled it and how America handled COVID?
Oh, how the government handle. Actually, in Burma, like I was really afraid. Like a lot of at the beginning of the COVID, like people are afraid like to inform to the health center because they don't want to quarantine at the health center because the care is not like adequate, and that's why. And also, for example, like I affected the COVID, my parents cannot go along with me. I just go by myself, so they don't allow like to come. So everybody is very afraid to inform. And but the first COVID wave, like the government could handle, but we also have the political situation. So the second COVID wave, like the government cannot handle, and a lot of like hundreds of people like died in my country. So I think it is really important. Like I think health education and also health access and like healthcare is really important. And here I think people have in the United States, I'm not sure, but when I first came, I got the COVID because my uncle, like he traveled to I don't know, one country, and once they come back, like they got the COVID. And I stayed together with them, so I also got that COVID, and it was really serious. Like I had to take like 1 week off from school.
Yeah, that's really interesting how 2 different countries handled COVID. And yeah, the political situation during these times was definitely something to
Yeah.
remember.
Also, the way that like health providers got treated was so horrible. They would work overtime, like sometimes 3 days, and like no compensation. They deserve better pay, honestly.
Yeah. We're doing this assignment, or we just did this assignment for my business law class, where we analyzed price gouging during COVID. And that's basically when a company will increase the price of something so
Like
drastically.
pink tax.
Yeah, but it's usually during a crisis situation. And so we saw this during COVID a lot, like the prices of masks and hand sanitizer was so high. But I did want to touch specifically on hoarding. There was such a big problem with non-profits or small businesses hoarding like hundreds of thousands of masks, and the healthcare workers didn't have access to them because there was a shortage. And so there was a lot of healthcare workers that were reusing their personal protective equipment, and it's dangerous. And it was just really crazy how people were trying to profit off something so serious. But
But you mean
Yeah.
hoarding? Do you mean like people were buying, like just normal people like us were buying stuff and keeping it for themselves?
yes. So, yes and no, yes. So, people like us were buying a bunch, like toilet
Yeah.
paper, and hoarding it so that other people just didn't have access. Like, if you didn't make it
okay.
to Safeway on time, you're not getting any.
For the restock.
Exactly. But, it's also, the bigger problem was, like, small nonprofits, when I say like nonprofit, it's they would claim that they're not making any money and they're supplying these masks to medical workers, but at the end of the day they would jack up the price or just keep it in a warehouse. Like there were two different cases we looked at. The first was somebody that they recovered 100,000 masks in his warehouse, and he had made the original price to sell one was like $1.27, and he was charging $25 per mask.
Dang.
Yes, I was
my
like,
God.
listen, sir.
That's the American mindset.
The other case was like less crazy on the pricing, but they still recovered thousands of masks, and he was like, I'm selling them to nonprofits. No, be real. You're not.
That is horrible. I just remember seeing a lot of TikToks of healthcare workers where they were wearing such tight masks that once they took it off, like their whole face was red and it just looked so sad. So I really applaud healthcare workers being on the front lines. I know it was terrifying for me to be at home and just hearing about COVID, but exposing yourself every single day to COVID because you're helping other people, that's just so selfless, and I really applaud them because it must have been a scary time, and there's people like this who don't appreciate them and just want to play into capitalism. But yeah.
It's okay.
So I think we should talk about the feelings of isolation during COVID more deeply, and how the more negative effects of COVID on our well-being and just our mental health. Because for me, like I said earlier, it was really hard to just be away from friends for such a long period of time, as well as just not being able to go anywhere. And I think not a lot of people talk about how hard it was during COVID. Does anyone want to talk about their
I know you're saying
experience?
like the negative stuff, but for me, I think I just got time to not really find myself, but like focus on myself. Like I started working out a lot more. I would go outside and walk or run. I never did that before. And then I would just get to do things that I never like had the motivation or chance to do because all the stressors that were like going to school and like doing this and doing that, like stuff that involved going out of the house. So it was kind of nice, but I do agree with the whole isolation thing, like being alone with your own thoughts can be dangerous.
For me, I think I had a very like negative impact on my mental health. First, I talk about the family issue, right? So, actually, like I had issue with every family member, and
It'd be like
I don't
that.
know why, but I think that's crazy. But that's why I started like question myself like why I had like argue with everyone at home, and it is really a negative mental health for me. And also during the COVID, like I joined a lot of events virtually, and I got a virtual friends. However, it is not in person, so it's totally different feeling. We can socialize like on social media, but it is a big isolation.
It's not the same, yeah.
And that was I sometimes I just at that time like I decided myself to stay in my room and not to talk with anyone anymore, so I will not have any argumentation with any other. So and then like I from that time I started to learn like how to meditate, and that was a good practice, but the experience was really like negatively impact on my mental issue.
That's thank you for sharing, Pooh, about your experience with the pandemic. And I really want to go back to how you said you kind of locked yourself in a room.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the solution. I'm an introvert. Sometimes I'm an ambivert, but overall I am an introvert. And my sister actually told me something quite interesting. She said introverts, what's the word?
Recharge.
Yes, they recharge being alone, and
Yeah.
extroverts recharge being
By
with people.
socializing with
Right.
friends.
And so I was kind of ambiverted and I didn't know which one I was, but definitely I recharged with being alone. And sometimes that just helps. I think over COVID, I had a lot of burnout with school, with extracurriculars that I was in, and also with friends and people in general. And I don't think a lot of people talk about that burnout with relationships, actually, because I had burnout with relationships with my family and with my friends at different points of my life that we can highlight during the pandemic. And it's really hard to have that recharge time when you're all living together. And so I think it is important to remind everyone that burnout is completely normal with all relationships. And if you are upset with a person, that does not mean you hate them.
Yeah.
And I feel a lot of people, for me, I'm a huge people pleaser. So I don't ever give myself the benefit of the doubt that I just need to step back and recharge. And that is also a part of our wellness that we need to think about. And yeah, does anyone have anything to add on?
I will say that one thing that kind of added to like that burnout was that every day felt like a cycle. I felt like I was repeating the same day over and over again because I was seeing the same things all the time, the same people all the time. And then especially because school was on Zoom, you were just sort of disconnected from your teachers and disconnected from everybody. Everybody had their cameras off. And it was just like, I felt like I was repeating the same day over and over again. And I hated that.
Yeah, so true. It felt like a loop, just like an endless cycle, and there was no knowing when it would be over.
Yeah, it's torture.
Yeah. I remember I had, like, on the last day of school that pretty much everybody had in March.
March 13th. I
Yeah.
remember the date.
March 13th.
Me too.
That was...
Iconic date.
Oh,
I
I'm
know.
sorry. Iconic date.
Yeah.
So that was my last day of high school, period, because I graduated early. So I just did not know what to do. Like, I had no schedule. I was just in my room. Like, I don't even remember what I was doing. Probably sleeping like 90% of the time. But it just felt very depressing. And I had no schedule, so I had no reason to like get up and get ready, like nobody to see. And I was in a relationship at the time, and it definitely impacted my relationship because it was so uncertain. Like, our parents wouldn't let us see each other. So I was 16 at the time, so it was like the biggest deal of my life, and I just felt so down. And I also remember that my mental health not only affected that relationship, but also just like it affected me. I was really in the trenches, like deeply in there. And I think the worst part was like the not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, because it was just so dark.
Yeah, they never said when it was gonna be lifted.
It was always like, yeah, schools are closing for 2 weeks, and then 2 years later, like,
Yeah,
we're
I still feel like a sophomore in high school, honestly, sometimes.
Honestly, I feel like my age paused at 16,
Yeah.
and I
Seriously.
still haven't grown up.
But also, like, I never got to go to prom. And I remember when I was a kid, I'm
That's
still
like
a
the
kid,
dream. That's the dream.
but when I was like a little kid, I was always dreaming about prom. I was like, I'm gonna pull up in the limousine and my big dress, and then it never happened.
I went to prom. It wasn't that good.
Thanks for making me feel better.
It was like in a boat, like a military boat, a Navy boat, and it was cold. The views were really nice, but it was cold. And then there was a limo, but it was so awkward. I hated it. Waste of money, honestly.
Honestly, me for prom, I had the most fun dressing up.
Yeah.
Did you dress up with friends?
Yeah,
No, that's why.
had
I
the
dressed
most
up alone.
fun. It's okay. It's okay. Prom is overrated, guys. Okay.
That's
Anyways, back to topic. I have one last final question for you guys, and it's that if you think about yourself in kind of one of the hardest parts of quarantine, just for yourself, you can define that time whenever you like. What are some self-care tips that you would recommend to your past self? I'll begin, and we don't have to share that experience, but I think I would tell myself to journal a lot more. If you don't know what journaling is essentially you just write down your thoughts in a notebook or even just a piece of paper, or you could do on your laptop. It is completely up to you what you write about, where you want to write it, or how much you write. It's really not defined by anything. It's just called journaling. And for me, I think I should have journaled more about my emotions whenever. I would always wait until like I was on that emotional breakdown and then I would journal. But I feel
just like scribbles.
yeah, scribbles, tears staining the page. It's all crumpled. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I feel if I journaled more and talked more about my emotions, maybe it didn't have to get to that tipping point. And I think that is a self-care tip that worked for me, as well as just understanding yourself and how you cope with things. Like Pooh, I like to isolate myself because that makes me feel better. But if that doesn't work for you, a lot of times I also rant to my friends, and that works wonders. They are also my journals, my people journals, though. But anyways, let's start with Donna on a self-care tip.
Putting me on the spot. I don't know. I was still thinking.
Okay, we can go to Pooh.
I think I might encourage my past self like to do some sports, like yoga or something. But at that time I usually meditate. But I think as a self care I might do yoga like consistently. I try yoga, but I just like couldn't like do consistently, and because I don't know. I give a lot of reasons for not doing like yoga, but yoga is a good thing like to if we experience the mental issues or like for self-care, it's really important. So
Yeah, that's wonderful, Pooh.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like, I wish I did more physical activities or just literally go outside, like take a walk, because being in my room, I lost perspective. Like, I forgot what was outside my room. And even though there were a lot of mandates, like don't go to the store, shelter in place, there were still a lot of people that were just taking walks. And it was nice to, like, 6 feet apart, be like, hey, nice to see you. I'm still a human being. So it was nice. Yeah, I would go outside.
yeah, because we spend a lot of time in the room, and we don't have like physically exercise or not exercise, just a walk is also good for us. But spending all time like in the room is really like depressing.
Yeah.
We should take the breathe outside and look at the environment.
Yeah.
Do you have one, Donna?
Yeah, I have to agree with the walk one. I used to take walks with my mom every evening, which was really nice. But one that I wish I did was organize. For me, organizing gives me like a sense of like I have control of things. So I wish I would have organized like my closet or maybe like my little stationery like thing, because just seeing like mess sometimes adds on to stress. But I wish I would have done that, because I want to do that now, but I don't have time. So
Yeah.
Right, and thank you everyone for sharing your self-care tips. And with that, this was Aloni's Note to Self. Thank you to everyone for listening to our Note to Self today, which was how life has changed after the pandemic. Bye.
bye. Thank you.